We've already seen the general idea of what a business component is and how it applies to a single level transaction. We will now see what happens in the case of a two-level transaction declared as business component. We can study this new situation by implementing a new functionality in our application. It's common for the agency to offer special packages to reduce groups of customers, who in this case will receive a free tour to an Italian city. Let's see the transactions involved. Besides the fact that a customer may buy several tours, and each tour may be bought by several customers, specifically, each customer may take part in only one complimentary tour offered by the agency, at least for the time being. At the time of entering tours in the system, an indication is made as to whether they are free of charge or not. In the customer transaction, we've defined the formula attribute customer free trips, and the rule. Error: in order to control that customers do not have more than one gift tour. Now let's see the WP Trips web panel we defined so that we can solve the requirement. This web panel shows customers in a dynamic combo and the free tours to Italian cities on a grid. We've declared this condition at the grid level in order to filter free tours and the cities of country Italy with identifier country ID equals 1. We've also specified the allow selection property in the grid with true value so that the final user may select a line on the grid. The idea is then to select a customer in the combo with a tour from the grid so that when we press the confirm button, that tour is recorded as one line for the customer, always controlling that only one free tour is recorded for that customer. What do we have in GeneXus to solve this? We will use the customer transaction as business component. To do so, we declare its business component property with true value. Upon saving, we know that GeneXus created the customer data type associated with the transaction. But since it is a two-level transaction, it also created the customer.trip data type associated with the lines in the second level, which in our example correspond to the customer's tours. So, let's go back to the web panel. In this object, we define a customer variable of the customer type and a one-trip variable of the customer.trip type. In the enter event, associated with the confirm button, the first thing we do is recover from the database all information on the customer selected in the combo, that it's loaded in memory in the customer variable. Now let's take a look at the second line of code. The one-trip variable is of the one-line data type in the customer transaction, meaning that it corresponds to one of the customer's tours. This means that the variable consists of several members that store data. Specifically, we are assigning the identifier of the tour selected on the grid to the tour identifier. On the following line of code, we're using an add method that adds to the customer's tour list the tour indicated between parentheses. That is to say, the one-trip variable we've loaded on the previous line of code. So far, we've worked in memory, and we've only added one tour to one customer. In order to analyze the physical update in the database, we declare the save method and the commit command, both necessary when working with business components. And what happens with the control of the number of free tours per customer? Even when this control is automatically triggered when we apply the save method to the variable of the business component, for the end user to be aware of this, we must obtain and explicitly show the messages issued. So what kind of messages are we referring to? To those issued by GeneXus through data consistency controls, uniqueness of primary key values, and so on, and to the messages associated with our own MSG and error rules. Now, how do we recover the messages occurred? We use the structured data type messages that GeneXus defines automatically upon creating a new KB. This collection data type is meant to allow access to the messages issued in the execution of a business component. So we define two variables, messages of the messages data type, collection, and one message of the messages.message data type, which is one element in the collection. We apply the getMessages method to the customer variable and obtain the collection of messages that occurred. And lastly, using the forElement in collection command, we run over each message of the message collection variable and deploy its description. Let's press F5 to see how it works. We execute the WP trips web panel, select Customer Parker, select the Rome tour, and press the button. We can see that a GeneXus message is shown to inform that the record has been made. What will happen if we also try to assign the Venice tour? Let's try that. We can see that the message corresponding to our error rule is shown. This controls that the customer only has one free tour associated.